If you import goods into the United States from outside the country, a new executive order signed in June 2026 may change how you do business. A domestic US shipper doesn't need to worry. This doesn't affect them. But a foreign business importing goods into the US, this is a big change. On June 3rd, 2026, President Trump signed an executive order called Strengthening Customs Enforcement that, when it takes effect in about 6 months, will make it more difficult and costly for foreign importers to import goods into the US. Let's start with how importing currently works. When a foreign business ships goods into the US, someone must be legally responsible for making sure customs laws are followed and duties get paid. That's called the Importer of Record, or IOR. Up until now, foreign importers had a pretty reasonable way of doing this: an informal entry, low paperwork, low friction. And to cover themselves with customs, they'd buy one bond per year. Think of it like insurance. A company guarantees to customs that if you don't pay your bill, they will. One premium covers you for every shipment all year. Simple. That informal entry system is going away, but only for some importers. The order splits importers into two groups and treats them totally differently: US-based and foreign. Foreign importers can no longer use that easy informal process, not at all. They're now facing a single bond per shipment, not one bond for the whole year. There will be mandatory disclosures of supply chain, foreign tax ID requirements, and in many cases, using a US customs broker. So what does one bond per shipment really mean for an importer? Say you're a manufacturer shipping goods into the US many times, 50 times a year. Before, one bond, one bill, done. Now, a foreign importer could be looking at 50 separate bonds, 50 separate customs broker engagements. For a small business, shipping a few $1,000s worth of goods at a time, that's a huge increase in cost and paperwork. This has not taken effect yet. There are 2 dates to know. September 1st, foreign exporters have to start submitting export documentation through their own country's customs officials. And in December, the new rules take effect for foreign importers of record. This isn't the only change for importers recently. Back in 2025, the US got rid of something called the de minimis exemption, a rule letting goods under $800 come in without duties and with almost no paperwork. That exemption is gone for most products now. So the 2 easy entries into the US market, ship small and ship as a foreign importer with one customs bond, are either gone or going away. Law firms are calling this exactly what it looks like: a push to make it harder and more difficult for foreign importers to bring goods into the US. And here's where most people are going to want a simple fix. They hear US domestic importers don't face this, foreign importers do. They think the easy fix: get a US LLC or other business entity, and you're no longer foreign, you're domestic. It's not that simple. So let's slow down and look at what the order actually says. The order doesn't say get a US entity and you're fine. It defines exactly what makes an importer domestic, and it's not one simple thing. To count as a US importer of record, your entity must be organized under US law, located in the US, and controlled by US citizens or permanent residents. Or alternatively, the entity owns a significant amount of US real property. So if you're a foreign national who owns a company, simply forming a US LLC doesn't flip you into domestic status on its own. Ownership matters just as much as the entity. Then there's the located in the US piece. That breaks into 3 pieces: your principal place of business in the US, you have a physical presence with a real business activity happening there, and you hold sufficient tangible assets in the US, scaled to the size of your operation. The order specifically states that CBP's guidance will be written to stop people from using shell companies or thin paper structures just to grab the domestic label. So this isn't a loophole you engineer through with just a mailbox and an address. Nobody knows yet what sufficient tangible assets means in practice. CBP has 180 days from the signing of the executive order to write those regulations. So that puts us at roughly December 2026. So here's where that leaves foreign importers of record. A real US legal entity is necessary, but it by itself is not sufficient. But without it, there's no path forward. Every other requirement, the assets, the physical presence, the broker relationship, that gets built on top of the foundation of a US legal entity. And this is part of why a Wyoming LLC has become a very popular choice for international businesses starting an entity in the US. There's no state income tax, strong privacy protections, strong liability protections. But forming an LLC is step one, not the finish line. You still need a licensed customs broker and likely a trade attorney to work through what these regulations actually mean. What does located in the US and sufficient tangible assets actually mean in practice? So here's what you can actually do right now. Find out your current IOR status. Many people don't know whether they're operating under foreign or domestic IOR status. Call a customs broker now, not in the fall when these regulations are starting to come out and come into effect. If you don't have a US entity, think about getting that part moving. Though this is not tax or legal advice. And keep an eye on CBP's regulatory release, where we find out the details of what these regulations are. The businesses that wait are going to be scrambling as these regulations come closer and closer. The ones building real structures now are going to be ahead of those that didn't even see it coming. If this helped explain what changes are coming in December, share this with someone running an international business that may need to hear it. And if you're working on getting that foundation in place, the US entity and commercial address, check out Micro Office Solutions. That's what we built it for. Link below.